I'm Mawamween. I'm 21 years old from Afghanistan, and this is the film about how me and my friends escaped the Taliban.
My name is Farhat Nazari. I'm from Kabul, Afghanistan. I was a student in some private university. Also, I had worked with some NGOs and I worked with for women rights, children rights, and vulnerable people in Afghanistan.
This is me, Farhat Koestani from Afghanistan. I was a student of American University in information technology as a network engineer, and inside of this, I had my own work as a coordinator, manager, in Humanity Foundation organization. And inside, I was a good writer. Before Taliban took my country, I had my normal life when I was in capital and Taliban was around of the province. I had my normal life. I'm normal went to university, went to my job and come back home. Normal life with no tension. But sometimes I can imagine if Taliban take the capital, what should I do? But I never think about these Taliban have this ability to take my capital of my country as well.
One day, I was at university. Suddenly, my mom called me and she told me Taliban is coming into Kabul. I didn't believe, but unfortunately, it was right.
I was in class, my mom called me. I knew it's urgent. So she told me just come quick because the Taliban's came. We didn't even think about that. Even is this possible? But my mom says yes. They came and get the all around Kabul.
We scared and we didn't know how should we do, where should we go. And our friends Marwa told us that come with me. My home is so near to university. Then we decided to come with her.
I just see some of my friends they just wanted to escape but they couldn't because the home was so far away. I said, it's okay, you can come with me. My home is very near, very close to the university. You can come and stay with me maybe for a couple of days or a couple of hours, including my cousins and my sister and myself. It was 15 girls. We just hid in one room and locked the door.
We are all friends, university's friends, and we scared a lot. Also, our family worried so much about us.
We just all time check the news. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? But every minute we find it that Taliban came and take here, take this place, take this place.
All of us so worried about our life, our situation, our future. And that time, Marwa said us that I have a contact with some Australians in Australia. That then we find some hope.
My auntie was in Australia. She called us and she was just also like us. She was crying. She was also scared about that. Maybe what will happen to my family and Afghanistan. She was really worried. She was just crying and crying. We were just say, do something, please. We're here. We're just scary. She just connected us with Tamkeen Hakim.
I'm Tamkin Hakim. I'm an Afghan Australian and I work very closely with the Afghan diaspora, both here in Australia and Afghanistan. I first received a call from a lady here in Australia, an Afghan lady, who said she had some relatives stuck in Afghanistan. 15 girls stuck in a house and hunted by the Taliban. I called Marwa, and what I heard on the other side was heartbreaking. She was crying, she was depressed, she was upset. she had no idea what future held for her and her 15 friends. All she knew was she would be killed, taken as sex slave, or a wife to the Taliban.
Everyone was crying to maybe they will die, or maybe the Taliban came or take the girls or take our families even. The families also stuck on their houses. We stuck on this house. Every house was a jail for everyone.
The first person I contact, the person that I could trust with all my heart, was Rosanna Barbero.
My name is Rosanna Barbero and I'm the CEO of Addison Road Community Centre. I first found out about Marwa at the same time as I was watching the events in Afghanistan unfold, and because we all knew that the Taliban are a terrorist group and we know what they're capable of. So I said to Tamkin, how can we help? And Tamkin said that the best thing that we can do at this stage is hurry up and fill out forms for people in Afghanistan that want to escape.
We hid it in one room almost 2 weeks. We were really scared about that because the Taliban was all time walking around to even to do something like fires, like do something to scare the people. So I'm here, we are coming, we just get to Kabul. Or I was just really scared and always crying.
They just didn't know what was going to happen to them. And so Marwa kept conveying this to me. She kept, trying to be the leader of this group and get all the documents together at the tender age of 20, keep people calm, but at the same time express the anxiety and the angst that she felt, because she felt really powerless at that stage.
And every day was a different story. Every day they could hear different sounds, Taliban knocking on their neighbors' doors, getting people out. They could hear screams outside. And one day she said to me, "Oh my God, they're knocking on our door."
When my dad opened a little bit the door, what do you want? They said that we need the girls. My dad said we have no one here. They said that we heard about somewhere there is a lots of girls. But my dad says, no, there's no one. I have no girls. I just have my 2 or 3 boys. They are outside. I'm just alone here with my wife and my mother-in-law. And then they took my dad.
Because of the time difference, I would wake up in the morning quite early at about 5 a.m. and I would check my WhatsApp messages. Mama Jan, the Taliban came knocking at the door. They've just taken my father away. We don't know what's happened to him. Another time saying, Mama Jan, they're at the door. They're asking for girls. They want girls. They know that there are girls hiding here.
When the Taliban took Marwa's father, the girls were so scared, and Marwa said to me, the girls are actually prepared to kill themselves and die. That's how desperate the situation was.
Mama Jan, we're not going to let them take us. We would rather die. We're going to take our lives, but we would rather die. They will not take us. These animals will not take us.
Taliban wanted to come inside of the house or wanted to get us. So we decided that it's better to kill ourselves instead of going with Taliban.
They did not want to live or be taken away by the Taliban and become sex slaves or wives to these monsters.
I was astonished when I first heard from Marwa when she said that all of them, because they were together in hiding, that all of them were prepared to take their lives rather than to be at the fate of the Taliban soldiers, because they might be very young, but they were not unaware of what happens to young women. They know very well that the Taliban soldiers wanted a reward for their loyalty, and that reward was in the form of young girls.
It was very difficult to hear the sound, their cries. It was very difficult.
We didn't hear about my dad more than 24 hours. I was thinking maybe I could not ever seen my dad.
And I said to Marwa, if I can get someone on the ABC in Australia to interview you, will you be prepared to do that? So the people in Australia don't just see what is unfolding in Afghanistan on the television, but they get to hear from a person who is in hiding, who fears for not just her lives, but the lives of many girls in Afghanistan. And Marwa agreed to do it. She said, yes, I will do it. I have nothing to lose, and I want the people of Australia to understand and to know and to hear what is happening to us.
I was just talking with cry, talking to this is the situation, we are here, we are very scared about everything, we just need some help.
20 years ago you thought that our rights mattered, and why 20 years later you don't care about us? We can't sleep, we can't go outside, it's so scary. They are like animals standing outside. They are like very scary persons. I really love my homeland, but now I can't stay here. It became a jail for me.
It was important for Marwa to tell her story because that's the only way that the world will wake up and be aware of what was going on in Afghanistan. Not only to save these 15 girls, but there were thousands of other girls who were going to be taken as sex slaves or wives. There would be no education for them, no future in Afghanistan. The world needed to know this.
And we were waiting. We always just try to think about how we can escape from here.
Then Marwa told us that I have some they want to help us. After time came with Rosanna and Craig Foster, and they help us a lot to get the Australian visa.
So what we did is we went into action. It wasn't just me, it was a group of people, and I reached out to other amazing volunteers at Addison Road Centre who are all activists, who are all, involved in one way or another in supporting refugees. And we set up a women's group, a chat, because we were getting flooded with all this documentation that then needed to be organised and put into the forms to try and get them visas with the Australian government. And our office at Addison Road Centre was literally a sea. It was covered with all the different identity cards, and we had to match the English with the Farsi. And at that moment, Mustafa walked in the room and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "We're trying to match."
I went to Rosanna's office and I noticed some papers on the table which was in Dari and Farsi. I asked Rosanna what's happening, what are these papers, and she explained it to me. It's about some Afghan girls who are in danger. And I said I know how to speak Farsi and Dari. I am happy to help.
And he got down on his hands and knees and he started to match the forms. And then at that moment, Craig walked in and Moz and I are on all fours and there's a sea of documentation. He said, "What are you two doing?" And we said, "Oh, we're doing visa applications for Afghans." And Craig was in the middle of doing this with the phone to his ear, and he was in the middle of trying to get other people out of Afghanistan. So we didn't want to bother him with our group of people, but he immediately said, "Why didn't you tell me?"
I'd been working on many cases of particularly female Afghan athletes, the women's football team and Paralympians and others. But this morning I walked into Rosanna's office and saw all these 842 humanitarian visa applications on the ground. And I was surprised. Moz Azimi was there speaking to people on the phone and interpreting the information. And I said to Rosanna, "What are you doing? Who are these for? You haven't mentioned these to me." And she said, "Well, there's a group of young Tajik girls who are in trouble in Kabul and we're trying to help them." And of course, I knew the difficulty of getting visas. I also knew the length of time it takes. It can take years to get an application through. And at that particular point in time, I was aware that there were literally thousands, if not tens of thousands of applications already. Rosanna let me know that Tamkin Hakim was involved. I gave her a call to find out more about what was going on. And she made particular reference to the danger that these young Tajik girls were under in terms of sexual slavery and forced marriage, and told me that the Taliban fighters highly prize Tajik girls as young as 14, and that the fighters can take up to 7 women, whether as a wife or simply a sexual slave.
And then the very next day, Craig rings me and he said, give me the list of those girls. And a few days later, they had visas.
It just so happens that at this particular point in time, I know from the Australian government that the emergency visas are coming to an end, and it's almost impossible to get any more. However, I'd spoken only in the past 24 hours to Nick McKim, Green senator and very well-known refugee advocate and good friend of mine, and I knew that there was a very small window and just a small number of potential emergency visas that could be granted within about a 48-hour window. So I called Nick, said, listen, I've got some applications in front of me now, and they'll be with you in an hour. So it was fortuitous that they had been working on the case, they had been doing all that hard work, keeping in touch with the kids, and doing the really hard graft of finding all the information and making it happen. We know by this time that the Taliban have been to the door. We know that they've tried to get in. We know that they think there's a group of girls inside, so someone outside in the street has seen them or someone's spoken. And we know that the father of Marwa Maween has been taken by the Taliban. We don't know if he's going to be back. We don't know what's going to happen to him, but we think that it's imminent that the Taliban are going to get a hold of these kids.
One of the girls had already escaped to Dubai. She was there all alone, and we needed to get her to Australia.
It was between afternoon and evening that my dad called me, that my daughter, don't worry, everything will be okay, but please stay safe, don't go outside. And I said, no, daddy, don't worry, everything is okay here. Today I just went to university and I come back, I'm at home, don't worry. He told me, take your decisions, go abroad, even in Pakistan. If it's possible, go any way you want and any way you can. Fortunately, my friends can help me. I went to Dubai and I was stuck in Dubai.
We were waiting for the visas to come through after we'd submitted them to Minister Hawke's office through Nick McKim, and word came through that the email had been sent to the girls' phones, that they had received the visas. It only took less than a couple of days. So I thank them for that. What we had to do even to these girls was to say that you can't bring your families. So we only had a limited number. These girls are at risk, and we couldn't submit visas for their mothers and fathers, their sisters and brothers. And that's a situation that I'd prefer never to be in again. So we had to explain to young girls in their late teens why they're going to flee, put their lives at risk, get across to Pakistan, a foreign country, have to make all their way to Australia where they've never been, and that as young as they are, their mothers and fathers can't go with them. So just imagine the position that those parents were in. It's a decision that every parent would dread.
When I received the visa, the first person that I called, it was my dad. I called him, Dad, don't worry, I had already my Australian visa and I will arrange my travel to Australia. Don't be worried about me. I do promise with myself, I always remember you, my mom and dad and my country. And just pray for me. Just pray for my safe trip. And I will go to Australia soon.
I think for all of us, when we found out what was facing not just these girls, but so many others, we're all horrified. And to think that there was a young group of kids who are hiding in one room in a house in Kabul at a time when I was in contact with a lot of people in Kabul. I was in contact with the Australian government, so I was getting some security updates and information as well about the other various terrorist organisations who were around the airport and who were starting to exert their influence at that time. The whole mix was becoming more complex. It was becoming more explosive, and the likelihood of people getting out on flights was becoming less and less. And the question started to become, well, can they get out? Can they leave this house? Can they somehow possibly get across the border?
Then it was trying to get them out of Afghanistan. And of course, Craig had some connections of people that were doing this, but we didn't know what was happening on the ground. So we were reluctant to say to the girls, just in a van, get yourselves to the border, because we didn't want to take that risk. But we did encourage them to talk to people that other people had used to get to the Pakistani border.
We didn't know how should we go to Australia, how should we go, we pass the border, how should we go to the airport, because the airport situation was so horrible, and we couldn't go to airport on that time, because all of us were girl and Taliban looking forward us, and we didn't know how should we do.
Everyone in Australia, in the human rights community, and of course the Australian Afghan community, were sharing information about where to go, where to hide, how to get to the border, what to do when they got to the border, the different ways to get across. And to relay this information, I spoke to Marwa and was in touch with her, and it quickly became clear, firstly, the extreme stress and fear that they had. But what really stood out was the incredible courage of this young girl.
We were really worried about going outside. Even we were going to die inside too.
And they knew it was dangerous, and they knew that it was a risk, but they said that they would prefer to die trying to escape than to remain in Afghanistan at the fate of what they call the Taliban animals.
We had to advise these girls whether they should stay and die, either at the hands of the Taliban or maybe their own, or die trying. And we said, you have to go.
I just called to those drivers that I trusted on that. So I just told them to come 5 o'clock on this address. I will let you know what we're gonna do. Then we just go in separate cars and 3 separate cars. Even we just start at the 5 o'clock because there was no one on outside. We just start the trip up to Jalalabad in 3 different ways. For 10 or 15 minute distances. We just wanted to no one knows about that.
They were very brave. I could tell by our conversation that they felt quite strong and very powerful because they had basically decided that they were going to leave, and if it meant dying, then they would die, but they would try.
We can't take our clothes, we can't take our books, our notebooks, our memorable things, our pictures or anything that we had on our rooms or in our house. We just left everything behind, and just even our whole house was unlocked. Just we wanted to escape. We had ourselves, our clothes that we had, water, charger and mobile, and that's all.
So Marwa and these girls got into cars and tried to escape. But it was one of the most dangerous escape you could ever imagine.
We just faced with lots of checkpoints. In every checkpoints, we were trying to hide ourselves, like we are like old woman, or maybe we have the drivers is like being one of the husbands of some girls, or we just put our whole faces with scarves or with anything that we have on there, and just we wanted to hide ourselves from Taliban. And every time the Taliban stopped us and the checkpoints, we were just really, really scared. We were thinking maybe they will take us, maybe they will do something, maybe they will kill the drivers or take the girls or something. Or we will reach there on the border or not. Maybe we will die on the way.
So you could see that they're actually driving past Taliban fighters, and all it took was for one of them to have just the smallest bit of suspicion, pull those cars up, and everyone's gone.
All I could imagine, constantly I would imagine, what if that was my child, my sister, my mother, or my aunt, or anyone that I loved in my family, to feel powerless, to feel so far away, and to feel that there is no humanity in these Western governments that were involved in Afghanistan but were quite prepared to not hear the cries of the people of Afghanistan.
We arrived to the border of Pakistan to go outside to cross the border. But even we have a visa, we had visas on there, but we couldn't, because the Pakistani people told us we have to have a border pass or permission from High Commission or from embassy or something to cross the border. I called to Tamkeen and text her we couldn't cross the border, we need something else. We have to just go back and wait for border pass.
Rosanna and Tamkin were beside themselves, as you can imagine, and everyone was just incredibly fearful.
They had the Australian visas, but they just couldn't get through. So it was better for them and it was safer for them to get back. She was panicking, the girls were panicking.
Rosanna called to say the girls are at the border, they tried to get through and couldn't get through. And so we knew that we needed more help from the other side. And I'd been working with the fabulous Zali Steggall, an independent MP in the Australian Parliament, to secure visas for particularly female athletes, including the Afghan women's national team. And Zali had been doing an amazing job, working literally 24 hours a day. Her staff were putting applications together. Incredible job. And both Zali and I were in touch with Maurice and Alex Hawke, our foreign and immigration ministers. And we knew by this time that we needed a letter from the Pakistan government, secured through the Australian Embassy in Islamabad. So we still weren't there.
We were in 7 days in 7 places. We couldn't introduce ourselves, that who we are. We have to hide in every places for 7 days.
And I was listening to those conversations that in Jalalabad there was a hotel. I cannot remember the name of the hotel. She was talking to other people that it's not safe. That hotel belongs to the government. Don't go there. It's not safe. If you go there, they will catch you and they will kill you. They are looking for girls. They are looking for Hazara and Tajik girls. Be careful. They are dangerous.
It was very important for them to cross the border as soon as they could, because every minute they spent in that city, they were risking their lives.
They were there for 7 days and they had to change hotels because the Taliban were everywhere and they were circulating and they were looking for young women. So they were always at risk.
So once we received their approval letter from the Pakistani government, they got a gate pass. They were finally able to cross the border.
They had all of the information now. They just had to get through the border. And that wasn't straightforward, as anyone who had to do so or was involved in this saga knows.
We just wanted to cross the border, but still it was not easy for us. We were very big group. Lots of girls wanted to cross the border because we have one letter. It shows that we all together. So it was really hard still.
We couldn't go alone. We couldn't go alone in border because Taliban didn't allow the single girls without their parents or their brother to go anywhere, especially any province or any other country. Then my father decided to go with us till to Turkhan borders.
I was informed by the embassy, by the diplomats at High Commission, that they'll have some workers on the other side, some drivers and cars on the other side of the border in Islamabad to pick up the girls and take them to safety.
In the other side of the border, we saw the car that the Australian people just there and they are waiting for us.
And they finally got through after 4 hours to the other side, where the Australian contractors and the drivers, the cars were waiting for them to get through. The Australian embassy and the diplomats and the High Commission staff were amazing. They did a great job helping the girls get through.
I received the video of them walking across the gate, which was just a tunnel with an awning on it. And shortly after that, video of the girls in a minibus organised by the Australian government and our High Commission in Pakistan.
There was a moment of absolute jubilation, and I know that we were jumping up and down and screaming and hugging each other, and we announced it to everyone in the hall that was packing hampers that were also waiting in awe to how this journey was unfolding, and everyone was concerned. So the concern was shared by all of us. It was a collective concern. So we were so happy that they crossed the border, and then there was that moment of reality when this was 15 girls that crossed the border, and that there were countless other girls and boys still in danger in Afghanistan. And so we went back to work to try to get more and more visas. And most of the people that we filled out application forms, which is over 150 people, are still unfortunately in Afghanistan today.
The Australian people was waiting for us. They take us and we just gone to a guest house for 1 week.
So when the last day of their quarantine, Craig and myself and Yana from Addie Road, we went down to the hotel, and it was just this moment when Marwa and the girls walked out of the revolving doors, and we were there, and it was just incredible after all these months of communicating and sharing to some degree all the low points and the high points of this precarious and dangerous journey, and to see these courageous women in real life. And there was lots of hugs and there were tears. And then shortly after that, they came to Addie Road to meet everybody else at Addie Road that also were very aware of every step of the journey that the girls took.
Meeting the girls in Sydney has been amazing for everyone, because we have been able to witness firsthand what we already knew throughout their ordeal was just the incredible strength and extraordinary courage and dignity of these young kids.
They all have different personalities. They're normal teenagers with dreams and aspirations, and they're very, very supportive and determined to do something for themselves, for Australia and Afghanistan.
And, you know, now they're really part of our family at Addie Road, and they feel very comfortable there, and they're already contributing. They're already been helping us out at the community centre and helping their community and helping other refugees that have come from Afghanistan.
Physically very safe, have lots of opportunities, or even wanted to be to live here as other girls or other women that lived before me here. But emotionally, we were just thinking about our everything on back, our homeland, our everything that we left behind of us.
When I left my everything, I feel I am at the sky and I cannot believe. When I start my trip, I don't have any feeling, not happy and not sad. And I take my deep breath and I say, thanks God for everything. But inside of my body, I feel like a deep feel. Even I cannot explain it. It was about my farness of my mom and dad. It was really hard for me. Even still, I cannot believe I am without my mom and dad.
Now I'm in Australia, and I'm thankful from Mr. Craig Foster, Ms. Rosanna, Ms. Tamkin Hakim, and even I'm alone, but I'm strong. I wanna be a leader, but it's so difficult for me.
But then there's the nights, and the nights when they don't sleep because they left behind so many friends, and they left behind family, they left behind mothers and fathers and siblings, and they hear stories all the time about what's happening in Afghanistan, and the Taliban is getting more and more brutal because the eyes of the West and the news it's yesterday's news, and so they can get away with human rights abuses more. And they have to wake up every morning in Australia and get on with their lives here, but it's a very difficult thing for them to do, and some days are just too hard because of the burden that they carry and the suffering and the guilt.
Although the girls are here, their hearts are in Afghanistan. Their families are suffering. They still have to put up with daily tortures of being around Taliban. It's impacting their mental health. The girls have already got PTSD and trauma. But they feel guilty. They feel guilty that they're here and their families are left behind.
I feel like very guilty to left my homeland, my everything behind, my friends, my sister, my other half. It was really sad to left everything behind. But when I see the Australian people on other side, it was also a little bit fun for us to, we will be good in safe places. We will go in the other place that it will be give us lots of opportunities to do everything. But I still feel very guilty to left everything behind.
When I leave my home, I leave my family, I leave my province and country, I feel like I lost my everything. I lost my hopes, my dreams, my family, my parents, my mom, my father, my sister and brother, and also my job, my little office. I lost everything. I feel that I'm nothing now. I have nothing now.
For now, I'm in Australia, and I think whatever I want, I have here. I have my enough food, I have my enough money, I have my enough bed, but unfortunately, I don't have my mom and dad voice. Just now, I call with my daddy after 10 days, and I just can talk with him for 1 minute. Every day, it's painful for me, and I cannot even tell for myself it's okay, because it is not, and it is really hard to me. When I am going out, come back home, nobody is at home, even ask me why you're late or why you're early. Even when I come from college, nobody is at home that I can eat my dinner with them. I feel so alone. I feel so but I will be but I will be so strong. It's my promise.
I have to continue. I have to continue my dreams. I have to help my peoples. I have to help my family. I have to sponsor all of, not just my family, not just my Afghan peoples, all of peoples in the world that needs help, and that they are needs help, and they are vulnerable people. And it's my dream in Afghanistan, and I will continue my dream in here.
But now we are here. Alhamdulillah, we are good. We are safe here. We wanted to have a good future because we all have a different personalities or different thinking, but same goals: to do something for our homeland, to do something for families that we just left it behind on the Afghanistan.
What we see here in Australia is an amazing group of young kids, smart, educated, vocal, strong, proud, and they're a gift to Australia.
When I was in my country, it was my dreams if a woman be the president of Afghanistan. That's me, and it was my wish that I should be a leader or a member of parliament or someone who can publish voice of people and help the people, support the people, and make good situations about political, about economics, or whatever.
These women are young and courageous, and they're also very angry because 20 years ago it mattered to the world that women of Afghanistan needed to be protected and saved from the Taliban, and they see the hypocrisy that 20 years later they don't matter anymore, and they want their voices to be heard. This is not their choice. This is not what they wanted to happen in Afghanistan. This is the result and the manifestation of foreign interference.
This is our chance to tell Australia and the world how extraordinary Afghan girls and women are. And not surprisingly, the Taliban came to understand that 20 years ago, and one thing's for sure, they're going to understand it again.
Taliban is a big group of terrorists. They are not Muslim. They want to work under Muslim name, and they take my country under jihad name. They want to do jihad for the Muslim people. They want to kill the Afghan people without any fault. So they're not Muslim. In Islam, we don't have killing each other. Islam is love. And they're not Muslim. I remember the day they put my flag in down and they put their shoes on this. How they are Muslim? I am able to make a challenge with leader of Taliban about Islam, and I can explain Islam for this. This is not Islam to kill each other without any fault. To take mom and dad from the young people, to take the young people from the mom and dad, that's not Islam.
Often people flee their countries because of foreign interference, including Australia. So we're making it very untenable for many people in many parts of the world, including Afghanistan, to remain in their own country without facing torture and possible death. And so we need to reflect on this. We need to take responsibility. We need to be accountable. We need right now to bring more people to Australia. We've seen evidence of the contribution that refugees have made to this country. We are better off with more refugees in this country.
And also wanted to tell one important point to Australia, to just bring the families that the girls need. I think there's lots of girls, more than my girls here, they have no families. Maybe there's young people like young boys or young girls, they have no family here. Please bring their families, bring their fiancés, bring their partners. They will be more safe or more emotionally fine to live here.
These kids will make an incredible contribution to Australia. They're so motivated to make something of their lives. They're so proud to be Afghan, and they're so fueled by what the Taliban has done to them and their country that they are going to spend the rest of their lives working to lift up their country, to lift up the voice of Afghan women?
Each drop of my tear is not about my weakness. The most powerful woman is on all the world is Afghan women. We are so strong, and we will try to be a sample or be an example for all the world. We never give up. And the all world should know about Afghan people, include men and women.
When I was in Afghanistan, I helped women and children, especially children in the street. And now I'm here, and I'm safe, and I have to help them from here. And it's my dream. It's my field. It's the things that I wanted to do in my life, that I have to help them, because the children in Afghanistan, and they don't have their parents. They're like orphan, and they are so innocent, and I have to help them. I have to help them with their education, with their life, with their future, and with their dreams. And it's my goal, and it's my only dreams in my life.
I think I will be safe here. I will try my best. I will do hard working, and I will be a good leader for the human, not only for Afghan people. And I told for myself, never give up, stay strong. When I arrive in the airport of Melbourne,
I want to have every girls like me have right that now I have here. I just build myself here, be a voice of Afghan people, Afghan young people, or even be a voice of even young people on the world, to say for over the world, help the people, and don't let them to die.
I want to thank not just Nick McKim and Zali Stegel, who are both amazing human beings, Alex Hawke and Maurice Payne, who were amazing right throughout that crisis. And whilst the Australian government still has many, many questions to answer, and we left people behind, and it's horrendous, I know that. Nevertheless, they did a fabulous job for the female athletes that Zali and I were able to support, and also and particularly for these kids.
If one day it's become possible, I am able to talk face to face with all presidents of the world, and I will be the symbol of Afghan pupils. Please stop Afghan killing. It's about 40 years we are in the fight and war. But my request is for the world, especially for United Nations, please prefer humanity. Every nationality have equality. We are all human. We should prefer humanity. It should be first formula for our life. Please stop Afghan killing.